a little wonky.
It is wonky.
There we go. Much better. Ready? Dang.
Welcome to Books You Never Read.
Except for those we have.
I'm Nicole.
I'm Nicole. I'm Jason. I am.
And today we're talking about all of Book 2 of the Red Rising series. This one's called Golden Sun by Pierce
Brown.
There you go. And we want to make sure that this is really the video you want to be watching. So if you have not read Red Rising and Golden Sun, you need to stop and you need to go back and read and not let us spoil everything for you, because spoilers abound. And we have a lot to talk about. And it sounds like Peggy is quite glad that this book is over.
I'm glad it's over because I'm ready for the next one. I want to read the next one.
It was really good.
I had a blast.
Red Rising had no right to be so boring. Golden Sun was great.
Yeah.
But anyways, so just make sure that you're where you want to be and that you're ready for us to talk about this book. We're also available on YouTube Music as a podcast.
Mm-hmm. We're also on Instagram now.
Aww.
I have made one post. I've got to figure out how to finish updating all of it and everything. But if you want to follow us on Instagram, where I think we're going to just like post some of our shorts and announce our books and then just like other fun things, we are booksweneverread.yt. It's all one
Stands
word. Books
for
we never
YouTube,
read.
I bet.
.yt. Yeah. So anyway, come follow us. We'll follow you back. It'll be a good time. So hopefully we'll have some fun. What is she doing?
I've got something hidden back there, and she's walking over it or sniffing it.
Gotcha.
Anyways, Golden Sun was full of predictable whiplashes. I thought the book was ending about 5 times. And finally, I was like, okay, now it really is ended. Wow, that was Atlas. She has stopped caring about whether she hits the tripod or not.
Anyway, yeah, I guess I don't know. I really got nervous at parts, especially like the mud part. That part scared me to death.
The mud part was crazy.
Well, because I that was like I didn't see that coming, and I was like, oh no, right? Like now we're all gonna.
That
die.
whole Iron Rain went wrong,
Yeah.
and I mean I'm glad it did. That's very realistic.
Yeah.
But gosh, that mud part was terrible. Everybody's dead.
Yeah.
Between the mud and the end.
Yeah.
And the ceremony.
Yeah. But so I mean, like, did you? Let's do this. Did you like the way the book ended? Did you? Or like, what's going on? What happens next? Where are we at?
Yeah, where are we at?
What do?
What do? Well, firstly, can we...
I have a ton of notes, so we got things to talk about.
Can we talk about Fitchner?
Nicole was right about Fitchner. So whenever he like revealed that, I was like, nah. This is still a trap. The fact that he's dead leads credence to the fact that he's Aries. But also, he knew some stuff that he could not have possibly known. And so, all right, I'll buy it. Well done.
As soon as Darrow ended up on the ship and Fitchner was like, boy, yo. I was like, oh, that's it. It's the big reveal.
Yeah.
Because he can't kill him. And he was all like, maybe we could take him hostage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, Peggy thinks he's not Aries.
I don't know. I think he just knows too much. And I might have in my notes highlighted some of the things that I thought would be unrealistic for him to know, just to like play around and act and take that part. But
what do you mean unrealistic to know?
Like there was just some things that he knew way too much about, like Darrow's like backstory and surgeries and stuff. He just knows a lot of things that I think that even as like a spy, I'm just not sure.
Interesting.
He would know.
Yeah, so maybe Son of Aries, or Aries is not dead.
No, I'm saying I think he is.
Oh.
I'm saying that I believe that Fitchner is Aries.
Oh.
Because he knows things that not Aries could not know.
Gotcha. I thought you were saying, okay. Hey, quit, of course. So anyways, taking Mustang down to meet his mom.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That was...
reckless. I really like that, where like everybody wasn't where they were supposed to be. Like he thought Mustang left, but she was still there, and then he thought Ragnar left, but he was still there, and then it was really touching to get him to see his mom.
And for him to walk back through as an adult
Mm-hmm.
and see how
Mm-hmm.
small and like we do that, right? Like if you ever go back to your like if you moved when you were a child to a different home, in your mind you remember the street that you played on and your friend's house and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
gosh, their driveway was on such a high hill and like you remember all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go back as an adult, you're like, God, the street was small.
Yeah.
And this hill was just a driveway, a normal driveway. You wouldn't even have to use a parking brake. Like
Right. Or like Dirty Dan, like wasn't he was
yeah,
like low tier gray. Like he was there
but
because he couldn't cut it
was
anywhere else.
absolutely terrifying,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
just Red Darrow.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really interesting, just how his perspective
Mm-hmm.
is changing, and how he has changed so much
Yeah.
throughout everything he's been through. And the fact that his mom recognized him, even though he is unrecognizable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The whole thing, that whole scene of him going back was really good because like not only are his demons not scary anymore, but his like heroes aren't scary either. His mom does this whole thing where she's like, Io was like kind of manipulative, right? Like she was cool, but like I don't know, man.
Yeah.
And and I feel like there was some conversation maybe about his uncle or somebody else where like he wasn't as great as you remember him being, and
Well, and the thing about the uncle, he's dead, but
yeah,
they never found his body.
allegedly. Yeah.
He slipped out.
Yeah, I don't know. He'll probably show back up, I agree. But yeah, I really liked all that, right? Just sort of it's not so much about becoming gold necessarily, but it's just about like growing up and seeing the rest of the world. And he's gotten to see a lot more because he is gold now, obviously. But
Throughout both of these books, I've been very much reminded of like how this is an allegory for growing up. When you're a kid, you see how easy the adults have it and how hard the kids have it and how the adults have forgotten how hard it is to be a kid. And then also you become a teenager and you see like, gosh, they're making politics so difficult. It does not have to be this hard. And when I'm in a position to make these choices and to cast these votes, I'm gonna be the change.
right,
And then you become the adult for a little while who is trying to be the change.
right. And like, oh, there's tough choices and you have to sell out sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like I've just really seen that sentiment reflected throughout both of these books.
Yeah.
And I think that that's been interesting to follow.
I was reading. I might have read a little bit on the Reddit or something. I can't remember why I did this, but I looked at a Reddit thread where it was talking about like Pierce Brown's like political views, and they're like, "What?" They're like, "Does he think like gold is the way to go here?" Because like,
Seems like it.
what's going on? And apparently he's supposedly a libertarian. I don't know if that's true or not. I can find no evidence of that, like on his Instagram.
He's a Harry Potter fan.
Oh. But their point was like, I think he thinks that like his point is that like none of it works.
Right.
Right. Like that there's problems everywhere. And I think that was one of the cool things about this book was like there's problems everywhere. And he does a good job of showing sort of like the two-sidedness of things. So like one thing I think about and that I really want to talk about later is the villain monologue that Augustus gives at the end. And he right before he makes Darrow his heir, but he like chews him out for giving Ragnar one of the like razors or whatever. And he's like, I can't believe you would do that. Why would you? Why? But at the same time, he's willing to kill 30 billion people to achieve what he needs to achieve. Like he's willing to make those sacrifices. And so like it seems like small potatoes to like also get there to give Ragnar a razor, right? Like no biggie. But he thinks it's a big deal, even though it is significantly smaller a deal than killing 1 billion people. And just like how that kind of gets like twisted in his mind, but he's willing to do worse, we've talked a lot about how like Darrow's got to go at the end of this, and like there's no good guys here. Like maybe Severo, except he's like a monster carrying an eyeball in his pocket.
And is just purely loyal to Darrow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he doesn't have his own ideas.
That's okay.
He just,
That don't bother me.
you know, is.
Yeah.
And Darrow even mentions that at some point, like, nobody wants to lead, everyone wants to follow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just too hard. But yeah, Darrow will become the monster.
Yeah.
That he's trying to overthrow.
Yeah.
And the last book in the series is called Red God.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know if it's been written yet. I didn't get a chance to like read all the way through what I was looking at.
I was actually thinking a lot this morning about how this is like very Dune-y. You know, it's we finished the second Dune last night. Look, you can go, but you gotta knock this over, okay?
Yeah.
Come on.
Be agile.
Ooh, impressive.
She went sport mode.
But yeah, like how much he's sort of like a Paul Atreides figure, but from like the bottom up, right, where he becomes like the Muad'Dib sort of character, and he's leading them, and you know all these things. Somebody said Shelby says that basically the whole last part of this book was the Battle of Hogwarts, and you're right. And generally, I hate fight scenes or battle scenes in books, and I don't care. I thought this was really well done for being a large chunk of the book. It was dynamic, and it wasn't like people shooting and dodging explosions. It was more about like the decisions and stuff.
You were watching a live chess game.
Yeah. It was well done.
Throughout all the little battle scenes, it's always been that. It's you know, who's at the wall, who's in the air, who's over comms, who's still in the mud.
Yeah.
Whose freedom is being granted, and who's taking sides even in the middle of this battle. Sorry, we're like skipping around everywhere. In that mud scene when Ragnar gets his razor, and so do the other obsidians. Is that who they are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
You know, even some of Darrow's own army are like, wait, whoa.
And Severo's just like, shut up or get out.
But I mean, that's so telling.
Yeah.
Is these allegiances are only going to go so far.
Well, and even in that scene, you know, Severo's telling Darrow, like, look, you got to be careful because you're pushing away people who are loyal to you. And we've talked about that for weeks and weeks and weeks now. And we have that with Roke, who ends up betraying him. That dude never should have been trusted. They probably should have got him out a while back. He was a little too emo to be hanging out. I blame Roke for a lot. I don't really blame Darrow necessarily. And in hindsight, like, Darrow was right not to trust Roke, obviously. But, like, that doesn't justify Darrow's treatment of him. I just think Roke was, like, even though he's, like, a nice guy and a poet or whatever, I don't think he was... He never did anything, I don't think, that showed that he was trustworthy.
We never got to hear why he got chosen to be in Mars.
Yeah.
We got interrupted.
Yeah, that's true.
Emo.
Yeah. He was emo.
Yeah.
Can I start with some notes? Like, just because we're jumping around?
Yeah, well, and while you're looking
so
at your
many
notes. So, in that very last, like, the ceremony battle... the unexpected ending scene. You know, he got the box. We knew something was in the box, but we didn't know for so long who was in the box. My brain was going nuts. Who's in the box? Is it his mom's head?
Yeah.
Who's in the box?
Yeah.
I mean,
it was all very Red Wedding from Game of Thrones. I don't know if you ever watched that.
Well, I've
scene.
not, but I've heard so much about it that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it was all like you knew somebody was in the box. Yeah, I never considered that it could be his mom. That was a good guess. I was guessing Mustang.
Yep.
Because we knew that she was missing. You know, one thing about Mustang, especially in that scene, is I think we are supposed to be led to believe that she betrayed him. And like at one point, like Roke says, like, you shouldn't have told me this or something, right? Like Roke kind of indicates that like he knew somehow, right? Like he knows now, obviously, but I because Mustang is missing, I feel like we're supposed to believe that maybe she betrayed them all or something, but I don't believe that.
I don't think so, because even at the last moment, he's hoping that Mustang and Ragnar and Severo are far, far away and don't come back.
I think we're supposed to think she's an option, right? Because like, how else did they figure it all out?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think it was a huge risk for him to go back. And anyone would know that he went there.
Yeah, it's real obvious.
So, you know, the people who are there, the Greys and the guys that are there wouldn't know that it's weird that he's there. But anyone else who saw him go back, Roke said bloody.
He does. Yeah, he does say that.
He heard.
Yeah.
Or he knows.
Yeah, but he knows, and maybe they figured it out because they got to Ares. You know, I can't remember. If y'all know exactly how they figured this out, like, please clarify it for me, because I'm just drawing a blank at the moment.
But this is all the jackal, and it's all them that figured it out, and who knows how long they knew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Oh no, you know what they said? They said that they figured it out when Darrow invaded the Jackal's fortress.
Oh.
That was how they figured it out. It was, and so there's a couple ways that this could happen. It could be that Harmony sold them out.
The Carver.
Mm-hmm.
He was held hostage and tortured.
And so was Harmony. But so they could have sold them out.
Yeah.
But it also could just be that, like,
it was too convenient for him to show
something
up.
like that, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, I bet. What's his name? Mikey?
Yeah. Mickey.
Mickey. I bet Mickey accidentally sold him out.
Yeah. Anyway, so in the very first chapter of this reading, they get that, like, drill thing, and they drill through the cafeteria floor into the into the control room or whatever, and he rides the drill down, and that was just like, yeah, I am here for that. I thought that was a great way to start this reading, and it's just like such a crazy move. And Lauren had told him to be careful, and then whenever he, like, hops on the drill, he's like, all right, that's cool.
I love that there was one of his mental notes there that he got to be a hell diver for one more moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, you know, if they turn this into a film series or whatever, so much of this book is happening in Darrow's head.
Yeah.
We would be missing all of that.
I don't think so.
All of his, like, am I becoming the bad guy?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
they'll just turn it into a conversation, right? Like, he'll start having these conversations with Severo or with Lorne, or, I mean, like, you know, maybe they'll make a character that
it'd be like
the
Dear
first
Diary.
Dune.
Yeah, like Dune, the original Dune.
Original Dune, yeah.
Terrible.
So, whenever Darrow comes crashing on the drill, right, that's when he's interrupting Pliny's little, like, party, and everybody turns on Pliny immediately, and they kill him, right? Darrow doesn't have to kill him; they do it for him. But when
they're scared of Lorne.
Yeah, well, because so Darrow's, like, wandering around the crowd, and Lorne says if anybody moves towards him,
everybody in the room
dies, and some dude does. And then they, like, the guy next to that guy stabs him, and then Lorne says 2.3 meters close.
Yeah.
Lorne's so crazy. He's so crazy.
I'm really sad for him. I feel a lot of guilt over Lorne getting drawn back into this, and
yeah. So I have a couple. That note's called Tea Party, which that chapter is called Tea Party, and I have one more note on that. And I think this is Darrow who speaks this, but he sort of, like, sentences Pliny. But the way that he ends it is the best part. So he says, you are a traitor to Archgovernor Nero Augustus. You have conspired to destroy his house, to forcibly marry his daughter, to kill his son, to betray him to the sovereign, who has set herself against him. Your master raised you up, and you tried to tear him down. You have betrayed his trust for personal gain, and worst of all, you failed.
Yeah.
I love that, right? Like, because there, in that little speech, it really kind of sums up what it means to be gold. Like, you're supposed to be all these things, but if you're not going to be those things, you better be successful. And worst of all, you failed.
I really hate Darrow's gold speeches.
Really?
Just because it's so fake. It's just cringy.
Oh, I don't know. They get me going.
Peggy said he wouldn't stop telling people. Yeah, he's got all this guilt and this friendship loyalty situation. And, like, you know, that's great. Like, that is what makes him effective, because he knows that love matters, and I'm a sucker for that.
Yeah.
Like, love does matter, and empathy matters, and all these things. And so he feels like he needs to be honest with his friends, and he can't just do all this and betray them at the end.
You know, what's wild is, to be most successful with this plan, he would be better off being just like a mirror image of Augustus.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just willing to do what it takes, savage, not caring about other people, sacrificing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how do you do that and still maintain
Oh, I mean,
the
like,
integrity within?
right? No, you don't.
You become what
Right.
you repeatedly do.
Right.
You
Right.
know, very Aristotle.
Yeah.
You are. We are. Isn't that what he said?
Yeah, I think at one point he does.
Yeah.
And then there's one more note out of the Tea
Tea
Party.
time.
Yeah. See, he says, "You are a worm who thought himself a serpent just because
As
you
you
slither."
slithered. Yeah.
Loved
I
it.
liked Severo's little Plenty song.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
you got a wet spot down your pants.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad My Chemical Romance is dead.
Hmm. So then, you know, in talking about, we were talking earlier about, you know, just having like fake it through things or whatever, but we actually get like some imposter syndrome sort of conversations in this reading as well, where Darrow says like, I'm like the best gold. I'm like genetically modified. You know, they made me to be all these things, but I still feel like a little boy. And we see that again with his like mom and, you know,
Mm-hmm.
sort of going home and everything. But I mean, like, what a wild ride he's had, and he's been doing this
Yeah.
for like 5 years now, right? Like,
He's still very new at it.
yeah,
Yeah. I highlighted some talk about power. Let's see. And trust. Oh, yeah, this is after he leaves Plenty to his friends.
mm-hmm.
They go with the wind, chasing power, but they don't realize power doesn't shift. Power is resolute. It's the mountain, not the wind. To shift so easily is to lose trust, and trust is what's kept me alive. Trust in my friends and their trust in me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, he's solid in that point. Like, he's going to tell them, and he's
Yeah. You know,
gonna keep putting himself up in danger, basically.
I don't think it's this book, but it might be something else that we've read or watched recently, and it might be this book, but or the first one, where somebody says, you know, they think that like this other thing is power, but they're wrong. Power is power. That might have been in Red Rising.
Mm-hmm.
But do you remember that kind of quote? Like, power is power. Like, there's all these other like proxies for power, you know, who has the title, who has
Mm-hmm.
the whatever, but it just boils down to this thing, you know.
Do you think, oh crap. Do you think that Roke will come back? Like, we'll get him back on Darrow's side? Or is he gone forever?
I don't want him to. It's, yeah, he can. Rogue can. They can execute Rogue. I don't care.
Wow.
And I don't even want that. Like, I don't even want like a. I don't even want like a. Hey, I'm sorry, I forgive you, but like I'm gonna chop your head off now. I just want them to like blow him up in a spaceship and it to be over with. Like, just he's a traitor.
Yeah.
And like I understand that he feels so. Number one, I don't think that Darrow owes him anything. I just, like if Darrow is your leader and you think, well, like my like he's the leader. I don't necessarily think that like you have to be. You're not owed to be in his inner circle. You're not owed his trust. You know, these sorts of, and like even then Darrow's like not his leader.
Mm-hmm.
He is his friend, and so like I guess on like a friendship level, you know, you need to trust people and all that. But I don't think Roke necessarily does what it takes to be trusted. Maybe Darrow doesn't do what it takes to be trusted. Maybe they're not really friends and they just wish they were. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I don't think Darrow owes him anything.
Yeah.
You know, like he trusted Ragnar more than he trusts Rogue because Ragnar has worked his way to that inner circle, right? He
All right. Well, because
deserves it.
Ragnar's in the same situation. He's also a slave. Killed me when Ragnar. Sorry, we are jumping all over the place. But when Ragnar had just acknowledged that he was gonna die down there in the mud, and his eyes were closed, and he had accepted his
He was,
fate,
like,
but there was
crying.
just little tears
Mhm.
streaming.
Yeah.
I like Ragnar. Ooh, Ragnar has swag and intrigue. His people are called slaves and are trained to kill. Inquiring minds want to know. Yeah, let's get a book on the whole Ragnar
Yeah.
crew. And he keeps his mouth shut. Hmm. Yeah, and you know, someone did warn Darrow earlier, like, you can't tell Rogue.
Yeah.
I guess that was Severo.
I think so. Yeah. There's a part in here um, where we're talking about like trust and overcoming things. You know, like Mustang says, like, you know, you're talking about destroying my society and my family and all that kind of stuff. You know, uh, and we still don't know really what her decision is here.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine she is off helping Darrow, and we just don't know it until the next book. But there's a part where Darrow says, like, well, what if Cassius and I had been born in different classes?
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's like, would I be the jerk? And the answer is like, yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
Yes.
Because, you know, you are a product of your society, you know, so much more than you want to believe.
Well, and when you are living the good life and things are easy for you, well, of course you don't want to think about how it might be bad.
Yeah.
You just want to keep living good.
Right.
So you perpetuate it. Yeah, I had that stuff highlighted. I thought I did.
What stuff?
The stuff about,
Switching spots with Cassius?
yeah.
Okay, so he says, I beat him fairly, but I didn't have to like it as much as I did.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes I wonder if I was raised a red. If he was raised a red and I a gold, if he wouldn't have ended up a better man than I am now, and a worse man than he could ever be.
Yeah. For some reason, I think I could have been capable of great evil. Maybe that's the guilt. Maybe that's the fear of a life where I never knew Eo. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's the fear of knowing how easily I fall to pride.
I mean, like these are just like interesting, sort of like philosophical and psychological questions that I feel like are like peppered throughout this book. You know, and that's what this book like really drives home for me is like we might disagree with the way that the society is run, and we might agree with like Darrow's like general goal, but the things that will have to be done to like overcome that
Will be devastating.
yeah, you know, like the Reds are not like they're slaves, and like this, like all the Obsidians are slaves, and I'm not okay with that. But like, think of all the people that have to die now, so that they don't have to be slaves.
Right.
And I'm not saying that that's not okay. I'm just saying like it's all bad. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
if anything,
Right.
this is all. There's really no right side. There are some sides that are like less wrong, but like they ain't good.
Just like in Dune Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
You should know more than anyone, there are no sides.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, and then you know we talked about this a little bit last week, and then see it now that you know Darrow's mom is like, all right, so what? Let's say you liberate us. Let's say you take people to the surface. We're still gonna live down here because it's what we've always done.
And what role could we play on the surface?
Yeah.
Which
Like, what do you do
I
with
think
all
is
these people?
faulty. It's a faulty argument.
Yeah.
There's plenty that they could do, and there's plenty of room, and there's always plenty.
Yeah. Well,
if people will release excess and let everyone have some.
Yeah. Well,
I
and
sound like a little commie.
and I think that they should have the choice. And if you decide like I'm just gonna live down here still, okay.
Yeah,
I
but
guess.
like open up commerce
Yeah.
and let them have a world
Yeah.
down there with a standard of living.
Yeah. What a devastating ending for there to be this whole war and the destruction of the society for all the Reds to decide to stay in the mines. Like, what a devastating ending.
No, because the choice is there.
I guess.
You know,
Yeah.
but I feel like
But like,
it's,
do you really have a
it's
choice?
still not a choice. No,
Yeah.
you're staying where you are out of necessity because you feel like you can't succeed out in the rest of the world. I mean, we saw this with the end of slavery in America, right? Like, they were freed, people were freed, but they didn't know how to use money. They hadn't been taught how to read. They couldn't survive equally in society, and they were easily manipulated and taken advantage of by other people.
Because freeing people is not enough. You have to set up the structure to get them up to speed,
Right?
so that they can have a real choice.
It's like JFK said, you can't hold a people back for, so long, not teach them how to run anything, and then expect them to keep up in a race.
Yeah.
You've got to level the playing field. Lots of good philosophy in this book. Could Mustang pity who? Yeah, how your kids turn out. when they know you don't like them. Oh, all that stuff we learned about Jackal killing the older brother.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. Because Augustus is dead now, right? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Jackal kills him. Yeah. Shoots him in the head. After telling him like I killed my brother because you loved him more than me and all this craziness and like Augustus might have made it out of there until he was like I'm so disappointed in you and then he's like never mind I'm good. Whew. Yeah, yeah. Jackal's bad news. Bad news. But he's like riding this wave, you know. So.
Jackal. Something.
All right, I'm just going through my notes still while
Yeah.
we're talking. There's a part in the Iron Rain where Darrow thinks to himself, more men have died in the last minute than I have ever known. And, like, that is so insane. And in modern wars, generally, things like that don't happen. But, like, I think about, like, World War One, World War Two, and, like this is sort of like the peak of industrial war, you know? And there's something there's a part where they actually talk about that, like where they've like made all these like insane machines to kill each other. But I mean, just to like gain a little land or to capture a city, or I mean, like you know, like it's when you like really boil it down to like what you're trying to do, and all these people died so we could like have this city. You're like, what? Okay, yeah.
That reminded me of something I wanted to add on to that, and I already forgot. Hurt people, says Peggy. Shelby says, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. Did not work for Augustus.
There's a part where Darrow like admires Fitchner, which is kind of interesting because he's thought him like so weak this whole time.
Yeah.
But then you realize he says I think this is actually maybe not. But he says you know, born the lowest of the golds, he rose to the top on merit alone. What a man! To think I ever thought him weak.
Yeah,
You
that
know?
was after he...
But he is a snake, and he gets to the top that way, sort of. But he works his way there.
And his story about, you know, why he wants to bring the system down, falling in love with a red, and then her being taken and killed without...
My question is why, like, how did they, like, let him go? I feel like there's a part of the story missing, you know? So, like, they find this red in his house. She's genetically modified so that she can breed with a gold.
Maybe all they knew is that she was genetically modified. She did not expose who she was mating with.
But she was in his house. That's your responsibility. They should have, fine. So, like, maybe they're like, all right, man, I don't know. And what if he says, like, I didn't know, whatever. It still seems like bad news. You probably don't let him go teach at school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it'd be like somebody in Harry Potter being like, hey, we found that, like, somebody in your house is a Death Eater. And you're like, well, I didn't know. And then you're like, why don't you teach children? Right? Like, that seems crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. Does anyone have an answer for that?
That part right there makes me think that there was, like, some manipulation or something.
Peggy. The wife's fallopian tube thing made me angry at yet another author who knows nothing about female bodies. You know, a little Wikipedia entry on
goes a long way.
Reproduction. Anyway, but yeah, what's up with that? I have it highlighted when Lauren says, I don't like that you brought me here. I don't believe you're being the man you want to be. Oof. If you survive this and I don't, be better than the man who tricked his friend. God, Lauren punches me in the gut.
Yeah. This is a rough book for Darrow because, like, part of me feels like he's becoming unmoored. You know, he's realizing that home wasn't what he thought it was. His friends aren't what he thought they were. You know, like there's
the thing pushing him through this is not what he thought she was.
And you know, like, so not only does he go back and realize that like Dirty Dan is not scary and like that the mine is a tiny weird place, but he goes back to the garden that EO brought him to, which is like not even apparently like the real surface. It's just like a hangout spot for grays or something weird. But
Yeah.
it's like all dirty and it's
Just
full of trash and
weeds.
yeah. And like what does he have left? It's
Hmm.
so weird.
Though, so I've been comparing this to Plato's Allegory of the Cave.
Mm-hmm.
And that is part of the cave story too. The first realization that the person has that the world is not what it seems to be. It's not even being blinded by the full light of the sun. It's just being blinded by the light of the fire casting the projections.
Mm-hmm.
And the projections part, that's what Io saw.
Right.
She
Right.
saw this little glimpse that things weren't what they seemed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And now Darrow has been blinded by the full light of the sun. He
Mm-hmm.
has gone out and he sees how complex
Yeah.
and how in depth these lies are. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Little allegory situation.
So Peggy has a theory that Fitchner may not really be Severo's father, but that he takes in Severo for Ares, and that's why Fitchner is like alive because like he's not the one who like sort of did this. Because I mean like that is a weird part. I mean like that's like a high crime, to
That's such a good
yeah.
idea.
So that could be interesting, and so Fitchner could be telling us the true story of Ares and of Severo, but just it's not his story, or something. I don't know. And
And
Severo doesn't really
so,
remember his mother. I mean,
so
like
Ares is still alive, and it really is Severo's dad.
it could be. I mean, that's a good thought. Yeah, yeah. There might be
Maybe
something
it's like
there.
his brother or something.
Hmm. Hmm. Maybe. That,
Maybe they're twins.
oh dang. We like come. We see Fitchner again, but it's not Fitchner. It's somebody else. Yeah.
Or Fitchner got some C-Ray cosmetic work done.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, there's definitely. I think there's some play here.
We're gonna learn more.
Yeah, like the whole story of Ares in the beginning. Like, if Ares is really dead, then Darrow's in charge now, right? Like, he doesn't have anyone to answer to.
How's
As far
Darrow
as
gonna get out of this?
I,
Are
I
they just
don't.
gonna leave him there,
I think
drugged
Mustang's
and?
gonna get him. Nah, nah, they're not gonna leave him anywhere.
Hmm.
So another part, Dirty Dan or whatever wasn't as scary, but then he sees the like magistrate who loves cheese. And like that guy's like so weird and gross and oily, and he like realizes that now.
Yeah.
And he says, where I saw he wanted them to be hideous monsters, but they aren't. They're petty men who ruin lives and don't even notice. How many others are like them? And there's that sort of like idea that like that's the true evil is not the people who are evil, but the people who are just like incompetent and trying to make it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just going along with it and don't even realize the damage they're doing.
Because you can hate evil. It's hard to hate people like the mine director.
Yeah. So, yeah, while we're still going through our notes and figuring out what else we want to talk about, is the book club willing to continue the series?
I am. And obviously we're not doing it as the next book, but I'm
Right.
putting it in my hat.
Yeah, you're keeping
And
it in
if y'all don't want to read it, that's fine. I'm going to finish this series.
Yeah. Yeah,
That doesn't bother me.
I think I will too.
Yeah.
And why are they still getting cheese from Italy? What's up with her?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
There's a part where they mentioned like that there was a dude, one of like the knights is from Japan, and there was like there was a couple other weird things like that where I was like, okay, like that's interesting.
Yeah, what's going on with all that?
Let's see. I had my next note pulled up. We already talked about that. If let's see, who says this? Oh, when he's talking to Mustang, um, she says, if I don't pull this trigger, whenever they're like in the mines and she learns the truth, She's pointing her gun at Darrow, and she says, "If I don't pull this trigger, millions will die." And he says, "If you pull the trigger, you accept that billions should live as slaves." And I think that's such a great like trolley problem right there,
Mm-hmm.
where who is guilty here,
Right.
and of what, and guilt is a man-made concept, and so it doesn't like work right, and sort of like obviously this person's right or that person's right, and there's no good choice here. What do you do?
Yeah.
You gonna kill millions of people or enslave billions? What's the plan? And even if you decide that billions should be slaves instead of millions die, millions are probably still gonna die. And even if the millions die, you might lose, and the billions will still be slaves. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
And there's no good call, and there never will be. And
Right.
I think that people want there to be that right choice,
Right.
and that's a tough one.
I think it's interesting that Darrow keeps being compared to Achilles.
I love it.
Well, so Achilles is a titty baby in the Iliad. I don't know
Oh,
if you guys remember this, but after his big bad fight with Agamemnon or whoever it was that he was fighting against,
Hector.
he no, not that one. He ran to his mommy, right? Because they've called me to fight in this war, but they're not giving me what I want, and he runs to his mom and cries.
I'm okay with that.
Achilles does. Well, and then so does Darrow.
Yeah, that's
Darrow
true.
runs to his mom.
Yeah, Achilles is probably my favorite hero of all time. I really, when I was a kid, we didn't do like Spider-Man. We didn't do like
Yeah,
comics,
yeah.
but we did watch a lot of like retellings of like there was a show called, I think it was called Book of Virtues, and they would like retell myths and
Hmm.
things like that. And anyway, like I've always thought Achilles and like Odysseus and things like that were cool. And I actually talk about Achilles a lot at my job because Achilles is invincible with this like one weakness, and that's the thing
Hmm.
that gets him. And anyway, I think Achilles is great, and I really did like all like the circling back around to that. And yeah,
Achilles also is upset about fighting a war that's not really his war.
hmm,
He wasn't personally attacked or offended.
hmm,
He's just being called up by someone else to fight because he is so powerful.
right,
And it's frustrating, and he doesn't see the
yeah,
powers that be down there on the ground fighting.
right,
So I think it's interesting that Darrow's
yeah, yeah,
also called upon to do this thing. That's not really how he wanted to spend his time.
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Achilles and Agamemnon.
So, what's crazy? I really thought that Augustus was going to die when he started monologuing, and this is if you are maybe questionably, kind of, sort of doing anything evil, don't ever make a long speech because you are signing your own death, right? Like that's the way that works. If I have learned anything from movies and books, it's that if you talk for too long, you about to get got. But he
Hmm.
doesn't. But he tells Darrow, like, I know that there's nothing wrong with obsidians, and that oranges could be great
Hmm.
leaders, and that reds could be pilots. Like, I know that this is all fake,
Hmm.
but I believe that this is like the best structure for it. I'm gonna read part of his speech. It's a little long. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
So he
that's
says,
good.
"Humanity came out of hell, Darrow," and we have to remember that like we almost wiped ourselves out in the past that we did not see.
Yeah.
Gold did not rise out of chance. We rose out of necessity, out of chaos, born of a species that devoured its planet instead of investing in the future. Pleasure overall, damn the consequences. The brightest minds enslaved to an economy that demanded toys instead of space exploration or technologies that could revolutionize our race. They created robots, neutering the work ethic of mankind, creating generations of entitled locusts. Countries hoarded their resources, suspicious of one another. There grew to be 20 different factions with nuclear weapons. 20, each ruled by greed or zealotry. And like that's what he's fighting. Like number one, he's talking about us, right? Like
Hmm.
he's talking about a very near future.
Right.
Um, and while I don't like agree with Augustus's methods, like I get the goal.
Yeah.
You know, I get what he wants. I get why he believes it's important. And that's hard, right? Like coming, because you want to
You just
dislike
want
him.
to disagree with everything he
Yes,
says
yes,
because he is bad.
he's bad, but I get it. Like I get what you're doing
Yeah.
here. Um, and he also said, man will end. That is the fact accepted but never discussed. The universe will continue without a care, but he doesn't want it to end on his watch. He doesn't want to be like
Right.
responsible for that.
Right.
And like, I think it's absurd that like this society is gonna be the thing that keeps us going. Like that just seems dumb to me. But I understand the desire to like figure it out. And maybe this needs to like be revolutionized, and maybe it needs to be revolutionized every once in a while or whatever. Yeah, I don't know, but you know. Like here we are not appreciating this guy. He's like trying to make sure that everybody makes, or that the species makes it to the future. And maybe we don't need to care about that.
Right.
Like there's no objective reason why we have to care. But yeah. But then Darrow also says, he believes that he is beyond morality. His aspirations are so grand that he has become inhuman and in his desperate desire to preserve humanity. And I do agree with that as well. His like while I get his goal, that's such an absurdly large goal for like one dude to have and think that like I will be the one.
Right. That's
Like
pretty bold.
yeah, that's quite intense.
But he says he is a noble man doing what he thinks best for humanity. Damn him.
Yeah.
And then, so, to counter that, Darrow goes on his inner monologue. We never asked to bow. Who is he to say reds and browns toiling to death is for the greater good? Who is he to say pink children being harvested for rape, obsidians and grays for battle is a necessity? How can he sit there and say that he alone knows what's best for me, for my family? It's not his right, just as it's not his right to come into my world and take EO.
Yep. But how, is it Darrow's right to destroy the society so that people
Right.
like it goes both ways.
Yeah.
And like he's right. But if you when you start playing around on such a large scale, you are going to do wrong.
Yeah.
I feel and like you have to be okay with that. And you have to do the best right that you can, And I don't think Augustus is doing that. He's got this decent goal and is doing a lot of wrong to get there. I feel like Darrow has a good goal and is doing good to get there and some wrong, right? Like I don't think it's all scored. But so yeah, in that part he says this is why he will die, this is why my friends will die, because I cannot match this evil.
Yeah. And he either will not be able to match that evil, and so he won't make it to the end, or he will match that evil.
Yeah.
And he will make it to the end, and he can't come back from that. I mean, something has to end him.
Yeah.
Okay, how sad that Victra crawls her way to Darrow
Mm-hmm.
in her dying breath to let him know that she didn't know.
Yeah. I like Victra. She has earned her spot in the inner circle. And like her mom turned traitor, that was a good little twist. Yeah.
A bloody damn kiss.
Mm-hmm. How about when Severo finds out he's half red, so he starts saying all the red words?
Yeah.
It was a good time.
Yeah, Mustang is going to have a lot of conflicting feelings. And Shelby thinks Mustang is still Team Darrow. Yeah. And it's going to help him take Luna just to stick it to Jackal.
So Peggy's talking about Divergent and how Divergent has, it sounds like 4 groups. I don't really remember how many groups. I just watched the movie, and this has 12. And would you need more? Would you need less? Part of this seems absurd, but we do have societies on the planet now that have had caste societies, and I don't know how many they had, or I don't know that it matters, or if there's like a most efficient number if you want to do this, you know. So
I don't know. I've never
yeah.
seen Divergent.
My problem here is that it just seems inefficient, right? Like, wouldn't you want, if there was a red who would be good as a gray, wouldn't you want him to be a gray? You know, like, you want to put the talent where it's best used instead of just like keeping people in because it's easy or whatever. But you know, what if you have a blue that just like absolutely is not worth flying a spaceship? You're like, what do you do? Yeah, I think I've read about all my notes, and we've made it about an hour. But
God, oh, Antonia kills her mom too.
yeah, Antonia is savage, and that is the biggest strike against Victra throughout the entire book.
Is her sister?
Yeah, because we don't see Victra, I don't believe, in the first book, ever. I think she's introduced
In the second. Yeah.
But she's kind of on the outs because of who her sister is.
Yeah. You know, too many classes, not enough classes. I will tell you what, too many names of people. There are just so many characters in this book.
A lot of characters.
Crazy, and it's only going to be more. So, yeah, y'all have not explicitly stated in the chat, do we keep adding these books to the hat to draw for reading, or do we...
I don't mind y'all saying no, because I'll start the next one today.
Yeah. So do we want to continue the series as a book club? Just, you know, in between other books? Or are y'all done with it?
Gotta know.
With all the, like, comments and stuff, it sounds like there's just still so many questions.
Yeah.
But, like, do you just want to read the Spark Notes and be done with it? Or do you want to read the book and have the experience? Yeah.
We can leave a comment then.
Oh, yeah. I'll always just drop something in the comments, too, if we're done. So, okay, of the Bologna family, who is still alive? Cassius.
Yeah, what Corvax or whatever his name is? What's his name?
Pat.
The brother, the big
Carnus?
Carnus. Yeah, he dies here at the end. He's like the big bad forever, you know. Because he's the one who killed Augustus's first son, even or was manipulated by Jackal to do it. But then Carnus dies.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like Cassius that's left. Maybe the mother, but I think the father is dead now.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Golly. Crazy. Shelby says she doesn't want to add anymore.
Well, we'll discuss between ourselves, and if we pull it out of the hat, then that's fine. And I'm gonna download the next one today and keep reading.
So this was supposed to be a trilogy. Interesting.
Well, it doesn't sound like people want to keep going, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm excited about the next book, and I'm excited about like moving on to other things.
Yeah.
And so we'll just do this separately. I will report back.
Yeah. So speaking of our next book,
Mm-hmm.
we'll post a syllabus shortly, huh?
Yes.
Secret Life of Bees
Secret Life of Bees.
by Kid Monk, Sue Monk Kid Sue.
I don't know.
There's 3 names.
Yeah.
And Monk and Kid are in there somewhere. Okay.
Yep.
I got the knee tap. It's time to go.
It's time to go.
Happy
All right.
reading.
Yes. Thank y'all for playing. I had a blast. We're excited about the next book, so go ahead and be ready for it. And then I guess 2 weeks from now we'll be picking the next book.
Yeah.
And we'll see where the hat takes us.
Oh, I get to draw next week.
You do.
Or next time.
All right. See y'all then.